What's up, guys? Nuance Bro checking in, and today we're going to be talking about some newly released information straight from the Judiciary Committee, where one of the accusers of Justice Kavanaugh admitted that they were lying. But first, if you would like to support this channel, please consider becoming a supporter on Patreon. And not only will you help support more videos like this, but you will gain access to exclusive video clips, our members-only Discord, as well as other perks. So please go to www.patreon.com/nuancebro to become a patron today. So as you heard me saying earlier, one of the accusers of Justice Kavanaugh recently admitted that she was lying about the whole thing. Now, the accuser's name is Judy Munro-Leighton. Now, if that name doesn't sound familiar to you, it's because she wasn't one of the three main accusers that were talked about on TV all the time and by the Judiciary Committee, which were Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, Deborah Ramirez, and Julie Swetnick. But there were other allegations made against Justice Kavanaugh by other women in this country. Now, this makes sense given the Me Too movement, the high-profile nature of this position, the fifth justice of the Supreme Court basically tilting the makeup of the court into the conservative direction now that the moderate vote, being Justice Kennedy, was now gone and he was going to be his replacement. This was a super contentious battle, and people were pulling out all stops to make this not happen or to make it happen because it was so important. And of course, activists all around this country were trying to figure out ways to stop Justice Kavanaugh's nomination. And that's where we get into the case of Miss Judy Munro-Leighton. Now, this information came out November 2nd because of a letter written by Charles Grassley, who is the Judiciary Committee chair, and he wrote a letter to Attorney General Jeff Sessions and FBI Director Christopher Wray. Now, the purpose of this letter is because Charles Grassley wants to refer Miss Leighton to the FBI and the Attorney General's office for potential prosecution and investigation for various crimes committed. So let's take a look at the letter. As explained below, I am writing to refer Miss Judy Munro-Leighton for investigation of potential violations of 18 U.S.C. 1001, materially false statements, and 1505, obstruction, for materially false statements she made to the committee during the course of the committee's investigation. On September 25th, 2018, staffers for Senator Harris, a committee member, referred an undated handwritten letter to committee investigators that her California office had received signed under the alias Jane Doe from Oceanside, California. The letter contained highly graphic sexual assault accusations against Judge Kavanaugh. The anonymous accuser alleged that Justice Kavanaugh and a friend had raped her several times each in the back seat of a car. In addition to being from an anonymous accuser, the letter listed no return address, failed to provide any time frame, and failed to provide any location beyond an automobile in which these alleged incidents took place. So later in the letter, he talks about how the committee began investigating this matter as part of the broader investigation, how they asked Judge Kavanaugh whether this happened, and he categorically and unequivocally denied it. And then this happens on October 3rd. Then on October 3rd, the committee staff received an email from Miss Judy Munro-Leighton with a subject line claiming, "I am Jane Doe from Oceanside, California. Kavanaugh raped me." Now, for more context, let's take a look at the original letter. So here you can see the original letter. They have the stamps and everything, and it's handwritten. And you can see the note, handwritten on a couple pages. And it's signed Jane Doe, Oceanside, California. Now let's take a look at the email that we know that was sent by Judy Munro-Leighton. It starts off with the subject line, "I am Jane Doe from Oceanside, California. Kavanaugh raped me." To all Republican senators, my name is Jane Doe from Oceanside, California. I am sharing with you the story of the night that Brett Kavanaugh and his friends sexually assaulted and raped me in his car. Here is the letter that I sent to Senator Kamala Harris on September 19th with details of this vicious assault. The Senate Judiciary Committee had a phone interview on September 26th with Kavanaugh to ask him about my letter. I refuse to allow Donald J. Trump to use me or my story as an ugly chant at one of his Republican rallies. I know that Jane Doe will get no media attention, but I am deathly afraid of revealing any information about myself or my family. I watched in horror as Trump vilified Dr. Blasey Ford. I will not allow this abuse to be directed towards me. So what do we get out of this letter? Well, it's very partisan in nature, and it's very anti-Trump, and it's just very inflammatory. You can see in the subject line, it says, "Kavanaugh raped me." Just straight up in the subject line, very inflammatory, designed to get attention. Then it's to all Republican senators, not even the committee, not to the Democrats as well. as if they wouldn't even want to know about it. But it's very partisan in nature, targeting just the Republicans. Like they're the ones to blame for this. And then it goes into talking about Donald J. Trump, saying how she watched in horror as he vilified Dr. Christine Blasey Ford, and how she won't allow Donald Trump to use her or her story in an ugly chant at one of his rallies. Just very partisan, very, lots of political animus towards Donald J. Trump. You could tell she's very leftist in her opinion, and that this is clearly from someone who just really hates Donald Trump and is making it known in the letter, like not even doing a good job of hiding it in order to seem legitimate. And then the rest of the letter is basically just a typed out version of the actual handwritten letter. Committee investigators began investigating Miss Munro-Leighton's allegations. Given her relatively unique name, committee investigators were able to use open source research to locate Miss Munro-Leighton and determine that she, 1, is a left-wing activist, 2, is decades older than Judge Kavanaugh, and 3, lives in neither the Washington, D.C. area nor California, but in Kentucky. So then the letter says they tried to reach her, and then they left her a voicemail on November 1st, 2018, which is just a few days ago. And then the same day that they left the voicemail, she actually responded and called them back, and then they were able to talk. So the letter continues. Eventually on November 1st, 2018, committee investigators connected with Miss Munro-Leighton by phone and spoke with her about sexual assault allegations against Judge Kavanaugh she made to the committee. Under questioning by committee investigators, Miss Munro-Leighton admitted, contrary to her prior claims, that she had not been sexually assaulted by Judge Kavanaugh and was not the author of the original Jane Doe letter. When directly asked by committee investigators if she was, as she had claimed, the Jane Doe from Oceanside, California, who had sent the letter to Senator Harris, she admitted, No, I did that as a way to grab attention. I am not Jane Doe, but I did read Jane Doe's letter. I read the transcript of the call to your committee. I saw it online. It was news. She further confessed to the committee investigators that 1, she just wanted attention, 2, it was a tactic, and 3, that was just a ploy. She told committee investigators that she had called Congress multiple times during the Kavanaugh hearing process, including prior to the time Dr. Ford's allegations surfaced, to oppose his nomination. Regarding the false sexual assault allegation she made via her email to the committee, she said, I was angry and I sent it out. When asked by committee investigators whether she had ever met Judge Kavanaugh, she said, Oh Lord, no. So what do we know from this letter? Well, we know that Judy Munro-Leighton is likely not the author of the original letter that was sent to Senator Kamala Harris. But we do know that she was the one who sent the email claiming that she was the one who wrote that original letter to Senator Kamala Harris, and that she had heard about it from the news or read some transcripts about it online. So she wrote an email pretending she was Jane Doe from Oceanside, California, which was the letter that was sent by, who knows, we don't know, it's some anonymous person and they didn't leave a return address, but she claimed to be that person. Now, she's not from Washington, D.C., she's not from Oceanside, California, she's from Kentucky, and she appears to be a left-wing activist. Now, I wasn't able to find any pictures of this woman. I wasn't able to track down her Facebook or anything. Maybe she shut it down. But when I did look, I did find someone with the exact same last name in the Kentucky area. And I'm not going to show pictures of them in order to respect their privacy. I guess I'm a good person like that. But it seems very much so that they would be their relative. And I looked at their Facebook and I looked at the Facebook profiles of people also related to that person. And a lot of it is, hashtag resist, showing these like resist banners. It's very anti-Trump rhetoric. And they were clearly very much to the left and opposed to Justice Kavanaugh and things like that. But look what she admitted to investigators. I was angry and I sent it out. When asked if she ever met Judge Kavanaugh, oh Lord, no. Just being so brazen about it, so nonchalant, like, oh, I was angry, no big deal. I was opposing the nomination. It's now over, whatever. But appearing to think like there would be no legal consequences like this, whatever it takes, any means necessary to stop the nomination. And even if it means destroying the reputation of an innocent man, just blatantly lying about it, not caring about the consequences, not even taking into account what this would do, false allegations to actual victims of rape and sexual assault, making people question those claims even more because they can point to false allegations like this and say, well, remember that false allegation against Judge Kavanaugh? Well, then we don't believe other cases because the likelihood of it being false is that much higher because of a false allegation like this. Now, this case inevitably brings us back to this whole notion of believe all women, believe survivors, hashtag we believe survivors. You heard this rhetoric throughout the nomination process when allegations were being made against Judge Kavanaugh. Allegations like this one, even though this one was not necessarily popularized by the media or made public, but the same sort of rhetoric applied to people like this. When there was no corroborating evidence, people merely made allegations. We don't necessarily know their intentions behind doing so. Maybe some are legitimate, maybe some are not. We don't know because the evidence isn't there. But this notion of believe all women, and specifically we believe survivors, believe all survivors, how do you know someone is a survivor without going through the process of determining if there's evidence to support that claim? Just merely believing an allegation gets you results like this. People who are incentivized knowing that people are going to believe them and that it could potentially cost people their livelihood and their job and their reputation, and it could stop the process of someone being nominated to the Supreme Court. You're incentivizing this bad behavior with that type of rhetoric because people do respond to it. So ultimately, Senator Grassley ends his letter and he refers this woman for further investigation and potential prosecution by the FBI and the Attorney General, Jeff Sessions. So yeah, that's it. And, it'd be interesting to see if these investigations bring out any more further referrals or, potential prosecutions on people like Julie Swetnick. That would be an interesting development. What do you guys think? Do you think that this is a worthy cause of the committee? Do you think that other people potentially might go down and might be found to have lied and might admit they lied? What are your guys' thoughts? Leave it in the comments down below. That's going to be the end of the video, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Support me on Patreon. Social media links are in the description box below, as well as merch. And I'll see you next time, bro.